I just had a flashback when I had to, the boxing photography.
Yes.
I had to give a seminar on some of my shots, and invariably, I mean, to be fair, this is it was a university, and there were photography students. But again, I was always being asked technical details. What lens was that? Oh, what speed setting did you have this on? What was that? And I remember thinking, well, I can answer, but at the time, I don't know. I just had what was there, and that's the picture. No one kind of had that. Ask me what was it like? Say being in Vegas and there's editors on the phone buzzing you, and you're wiring pictures, and there's this whole adrenaline. That's harder to put across than just like, well, I use this lens at this aperture, and the very technical things.
At the end of the day, you can't. This is the thing. This is why you need your systems, right? You cannot teach experience. We are not in the matrix. It'd be great to just take it out of here and go, click. I know kung fu. I know guitar. I know photography. Whatever. It doesn't work like that. And you cannot teach an experience. You can't really even effectively convey an experience. That's the sort of the tricky part, isn't it? I mean,
it doesn't make sense in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
as people know sense. I think some of my best meeting. I mean, get this for a plan, right? This was right. There was a point where I think my weight, after I'd stopped, I'd boxed as a teenager, all the teenage stuff. I stopped doing that, and my weight had gotten to at least 26 stone. Wow, big, very big. And I'd started to lose it. I'd started training, learning how to nutrition, bringing it down. And I think that there was a female fighter in Impact Gym, and she wanted to take me on the pads. She was filming these little show reels. I says, if I make 20 stone, I was coming down, I'll do it. So we did. She put that on YouTube. And then at the same time, that I'd found an African, the early days of the internet, found an African guitar forum. People would post to it. And so someone would go, how'd you play this? And I'd go, oh, like so. And the main guy on there who'd started it, I had most of the conversations with him. And he'd always ask most weeks for something. And, you make fun. And you can't play that. What are you, what's gay or something? It's like, just general banter. He saw this clip that we'd done as I'd hit 20 stone, and I sent it out. Turns out he has a video company in New York that makes women's video, fitness videos. And because of a state of crime against women, they wanted to do a self-defense one. She was fantastic. Let's fly her over, Oh, wow. Then I find out this guy had been, sledging in good fun. He's actually keynote speaker for Bill Gates and has introduced President Clinton and what? And then before the actual shooting, they wanted someone to be the attacker. I get the call. It says, look, you can rehearse it there because you're in the same gym, rather than us paying a guy in New York and it'll take a massive production schedule. All right, then. Then I find the reason he's into African music, he was connected to American cable broadcasting companies in the 70s and was in Africa. And so I got there and he goes, oh, who do you want to meet? What do you mean? He says, oh, I brought so-and-so over to play for, Bill Clinton's inauguration. I brought this. Who do you want to meet? So I reeled off names of legend African players, and he knew them all. And I'd gone to see them all, recorded with them, met them, composed. I mean,
wow.
And that's, when you say about trying to explain that as a pathway, how could you? There's just no explanation. It even sounds silly, me just saying it, but that's exactly how it happened.
No, that's, this is the thing, we all struggle with this at the end of the day. There's no way of explaining a pathway, whether you're talking about a career pathway, whether you're talking about, like I said, there's no way of communicating the experiential side of things. That's why we focus so hard on the system. It's like, okay, nail the technique, get to that point of unconscious competence, right? And then magic happens. You'll find it. If you've got enough about you, you'll find it. You know what I mean? And then, you know, just, we're going to go on to the boxing photography in a minute, because that's like how you met originally, right?
That's right. Yeah.
But what I was going to say, your greatest sort of fighters or musicians or whoever are always those people that have that perfect blend of just that sort of raw, uncontrolled, uncontained energy, right? That is not coming from a technical point at all, just pure emotion, just boom. And they have that ability to sort of just convey it somehow, you know, in the ether. And then but also at the same time, they will have a really sound technical grounding. Now, they might not be the best technical player, but they will have something, because when you get just a reasonable amount or a decent amount of technical ability and you put all that raw emotion into it, then you get something really, really special. Like, I'll give you, I mean, one of my favorite bands of all time, Nirvana, okay? And that guy was not much of a better guitarist than I am, you know, as a functional alcoholic with a guitar, right? But as a songwriter, absolutely spectacular, right? Just rocked my world and millions of other people. And 20 years after he's dead, or 30 years or whatever, it's been a long time now. And we're all still talking about him and all the rest of it. And then
get this as well, just to add on to that, people, you know, he covered a David Bowie song on
Man Who Sold the World, great tune.
That's right. And he made, I think, several mistakes in the solo because of his level of playing. And now people learn it that way. They know it was a mistake, but to be authentically Kurt Cobain, you have to play this. Take extra time to put the mistakes in.
But then you get Hendrix.
That's a trendsetter, if ever it was.
Hendrix was a bit like that, though, because he was a really loose player, wasn't he? Right?
That's right,
He was technically amazing, but he was off his box half the time on everything under the sun, which I'm sure added to the vibe and the showmanship and everything. You know, it did. I've seen the videos. It obviously did, right? But again, it's like, even with all of that, what shone through was him. And then you have these flashes of like unreal technical ability. Like, what the hell did he just do then? Or like the way he formed chords was really quite interesting. And I was watching a program recently in Slash from Guns N' Roses. He was on there and he was saying about he was one of the first people that he saw to sort of add the thumb over the top on the G chord, you know, and the top E string. Like, you know,
I can't do that.
I love that, but it's like, I didn't know that he was one of the first people to sort of, and you know, they were saying like he just had a really sort of, it was more an innate way of forming chords as opposed to the textbook way. But he hit everything clean and it worked. And I mean, that's the intangibles that you're talking about. But that's that lovely blend of like really great technical ability, but also just like completely raw emotion and enough about them as a human being to actually convey. And then you get something just pretty mental when that happens.
Yeah, well, freedom as well, not just to go to that point. It's like he's doing things that nobody's seen before, like distortion, which is like considered normal now. Like, amps were made to minimize distortion. He's there slicing the speakers up so he can get it. You know, setting guitars on fire. I'd never dare do that, by the way. He's free in lots of ways I just really aren't. Or putting it behind his head. No, I can't do that. And I've never been able to do this stuff, not stop. But what I mean is that's like you know, H.G. Wells writing War of the Worlds about flying saucers and heat rays when the whole world is horse and carts. There's not even cars on the road, and he's in his mind. He's imagined, you know, it's not like say Independence Day where everyone's used to flying and there's all that. No, there's a horse and cart outside, and he can be free enough to think of stuff that had never been, you know, envisaged before. I think it's amazing. And I think with Hendrix, it's the same sort of thing. It's not just what was played. It's so far off a level that's set the trend, as it were. Set the trend. Very free, very, very free. Of course, backed by great technique, but an extreme freedom to bring himself to it, like you say.
Well,
So,
the other guys I'm going to mention now, I'm going. There's still the rock edge there. There always will be with me, but going in a different style of music. But Gabriela and Rodrigo and Gabriela. Try and put my teeth in and try and say that again. So they're like the sort of the mariachi style, but then they've covered very famously. They've done covers of Led Zeppelin and Metallica, and it's just unreal. Now that would be like, I mean, again, maybe not. They're quite well known, but they're not. I wouldn't say household names as such yet. But like, again, especially if you see them live, the emotion and the vibe and the energy comes across. But those two are two of the most spectacular technical players I have ever seen in any genre of music anywhere. Ever. Changed my mind. You know what I mean? And that really is like something like that's like next level stuff, really.
Yeah. No, spot on, man.
So we're gonna. That's a great place to leave the music discussion for now. We can cover There's no rules on this interview. We're just gonna flow as we've been talking about. But I do want to talk about your boxing photography. So how did you get it? Or is it specifically boxing? Because it seems to be. Or have you done other action sort of sports and things? How did you get into it?
Yeah, again, another one of those pathways that just really doesn't make sense when I explain it, or how you could replicate that pathway, if you get me. But I used to box as a teen, in one of the clubs here. In fact, it's really good. The guy we were in the same sort of amateur squad. He now runs Woody runs Orm, and they've had a couple of national boxing champions, ABAs. It's really taken it strength to strength. But whoever, we boxed as teens. Low level, a lot of us. None of us really continued as seniors. But I always liked photography. I used to. My dad had the original Canon A1, which was famed because it was an automatic camera. There was nothing automatic in it other than there was a little battery about this big that operated the shutter. No zoom lenses. No, nothing. You had to bolt a big flash on. You had to wind the film up. Everything manual. And I used to swipe it and go and take pictures and try not to get caught. But as I was starting doing music stuff, I'd hang out in like bars, just where the musicians were if I wasn't playing myself, and I'd just take pictures in low light, because a lot of them were jazz shows or classic, stuff that isn't really got a big lighting budget, and it's in a pub. And really, some of the best music I've heard happened in those times, and I just take pictures, try and capture the soul of it. And over time, build that up, and there was like enough to put all over the walls. I thought, that'd be great. So I just printed them all. I says, look, if you want to put them up, go for it. So they were all around the walls. Happens that one of the guys I was in the boxing team with, of the time, I mean, he'd moved to London, was now a journalist for Boxing Monthly. And he was back in town, happened to go to the bar, saw my pictures, and it just so happened that the guy they'd had on staff to shoot the boxing stuff, there'd been some disagreement, or he'd quit or retired, and they needed a photographer that Saturday because Audley Harrison, who just won the Olympics, was making his debut. And so it seemed that I'd take the pictures. We boxed together as teens. He gave me a call, and I thought, he wants me to do, but I thought he was still boxing and wanted me to come to one of his shows. I was thinking, wow, he's kept up boxing. I hadn't seen him for years. And so that was my first assignment, to shoot Audley Harrison's professional debut. Or maybe it was his second fight, I can't remember. Very early on.
Yeah. Either way, you could have had long to get those shots, mate, if I remember those fights right.
No. and I didn't. Well, yes, that's right. There was some. I think they were only scheduled for 4 rounds as well.
They didn't go into that, did they? It was yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was. These were the first BBC fights.
I remember
them. But yeah, that threw me straight in. So within a few days, and I didn't have a digital camera even, so I had to go and get that. Figure out all new kit, all different. Totally worked in a different way to the. I'd only had a manual camera. So even, I'm several generations out of date, nothing automatic, to suddenly getting one of these beasts. And quite a whirlwind. Then from there, assignments left, right, and centre. Boxing News want this. This fighter happened to like this picture, so he's told the promoter, can this guy be? So suddenly, like, I'm shooting for several agencies or certain fighters on the card. There's just. I was always considered independent. I wasn't signed to like the Sun or any of the papers, but several agencies who supplied them all. My shots would go to all those guys, and then they'd farm them out and it'd be sold. I'd get letters from Japan, Japanese fighters, owner, whatever from Japan, World Boxing Japan, and written in. I couldn't understand what they wanted, but they had all these pictures in it. So yeah, I think quite a lot of the papers. I know when Ricky Hatton beat Costa Tzu, I was at that one. Wow. There was only, I think, 6 or 7 of us allowed. It was quite a big profile. And I think I got most of the cover shots on that.
That's amazing.
And that's one of my favourite shots. And it was in the last shot of the fight before the bell went, and he finished on his stool. I got that last shot. Just happened. It all worked. Again, you've got no control over the lights or where the fighters are going to go. Just happened to get it. And I wired it straight off. Didn't even look at it. I knew it was good. I just knew it. Like, click, that's the picture, send it. Didn't even look at it. First time I saw it was in all the papers. So yeah.
I think you can just tell sometimes when something's right. I was discussing again with Lee Charles about he's just had a huge and epic fight scene on the opening show of the Gangs of London that's just come out, which is I've got to tell you again, mate. Just check that out. Do yourself.
I will. Thank you. I'm under house arrest. I'm going to check these things out.
Do so. It's in my humble opinion, it's the best thing since Game of Thrones. I'm like binge watching it. I've literally got my TV over here. It's paused. I've just paused this. I'm going to talk to you for a bit. Do this interview.
And then back to the real passion of watching. Yes, I understand.
But I digress. He said that when he was doing the fight scene, he just kind of felt it was right. He just knew.
Yeah.
I've had fights like that. I've had, just general performance stuff, whether it's been on screen for camera, whether it's been in the ring, doing it live. You just know when it's hit, when it's right, when it's landed. And that's the bit that you can never really say how you get there. You can kind of say how you don't get there. You can chip away at it. That's it, isn't it? But what was I going to say? You do, and I'm not blowing smoke, but you do seem to have this knack for catching lightning in a bottle when it comes to photography. There's a photo on my gym. That's how we met.
Yes, that's right.
Cash Fighter in 2013. Stephen Hanks show. Brilliant show.
Yeah.
And Steph's a great promoter, and believe it or not, Will exclusive. I'm hoping to go back for 1 or 2 more after all this madness is subsided. I'm training really hard. On a negative, I need shoulder surgery. I've needed it for 2 years, but I'm okay with it. I'm full of cortisone. I've done my rehab, and it's pretty good. And I'm not in pain with that at the minute. Everything else pretty much hurts. My hips are wearing out a bit now. I'm looking. The sad thing is, I'm probably looking, my friend, at a full hip replacement in the next, I don't know, mate, probably 3 or 4 years. We'll just have to play that by ear. I'm doing everything I possibly can. I keep lean, I keep my weight down, I do my rehab exercises, all the rest of it. And I, take my painkillers sparingly. But I'm trying to keep going as long as I can to get a little bit more of what I love before I really can't anymore. Don't worry, there's other things I love. Maybe that's the time I pick up the guitar and get deeply into that,
Yes.
Just for me. That's a great thing to do. I can always do that.
Just watch your hands if you're going to do that then.
Yeah, I'll be careful with these.
Get everything else replaced, smash all that up, shoulder, hips, knees, get it all done. Yeah. But these, I don't know anyone who's put these right after they've been, after the knuckles have flattened and the fingers don't quite work anymore. So that's one thing. If you're going to be a guitar player, I would advise just, maybe put softer or something. I don't know. I
can't do that. I can tape it. I just get them properly taped and just man up. It'll be fine. I'll be right.
Okay. Yeah. Think about it later.
Or I'll have to find a new way. If I end up with one hand, I mean, if the guy from Def Leppard could out a drum with one arm, I'm sure that there's maybe some technology or some
passion will find a way. You're right.
Find a way. But there's a great picture from that tournament of me fighting a guy called Kev Dutton, a really huge dude, and we hit each other with uppercut, a hook and an uppercut simultaneously. I hit him with a hook on the outside. He simultaneously hit me with like a corkscrew uppercut on the inside.
Yes, I
And
remember
we
that.
actually landed simultaneously. Now, I've had about, I kid you not, I don't have an accurate number, but including my amateur fights, I've had around 300 competitive bouts. I've been doing it it's a lot. I mean, I've been doing it 34 years. So if you think about it, it's less than 10 a year. It's not that crazy, but it just adds up over time. And I'm older than water. That's the problem. But I can't ever remember another time where I've ever landed so tellingly simultaneously. I've seen there's like a clip on YouTube of two MMA fighters that hit simultaneously and actually knock each other out simultaneously, which is quite incredible. But like that's one of those once in a lifetime moments. And you captured the shot perfectly, and I've got that blown up on a canvas in my gym, which is spectacular. Hopefully, to appear on the screen in a moment. But I mean, so there was that. That was really cool, and that wasn't the only. You got so many great shots from that night of myself, the other fighters. I've seen you work, and but the other thing that happened that night that was really cool was Sugar Ray Leonard was the guest of honor.
That's right. He was at that show, wasn't he? Yes.
Yeah. Now, if you want to talk about bucket list moments and wow moments like you had in America with the African guitarist and getting to record, and me getting to box in front of Sugar Ray Leonard was there because my two favorite boxers growing up, Sugar Ray Leonard and Mike Tyson, and again, very different. I mean, Tyson was supremely skillful, but he was a power fighter. Leonard was supremely skillful and obviously a much lighter. Faster, more flexible kind of a style, but two of the greatest of all time, whichever way you look at it. And I thought I'd try and take those two and just watch them and see what I can come up with in between. And but that was cool as hell. Getting to meet him, getting to box in front of him was cool.
Yeah.
And
he was right by the ring apron the whole time, wasn't he? That's one of the great things, you know, because they opened with a couple of young lads, didn't they? Maybe you were backstage, you know.
I saw that,
you know, and you know, this wasn't a guy, and this is always quite a good mark of characters. You know, he didn't just come in for the main fights. You know, I've seen that done. People, you know, they stay in the bar or something.
Many a time.
The whole thing. That's the man truly who's, you know, doing what he's supposed to do. You know, everything. Watching, and you know, that's a good credit to the man, I think. You know,
he just came across again. Vibe just came across so genuine. I only exchanged a few words with him, but you know what? To get to exchange a few words with somebody that was once upon a time up on that enormous pedestal. And don't get me wrong, still is to an extent, and deservedly so. But I mean, not in this quite the same sort of, you know. Again, this is a conversation I have with everybody on here about like when you're younger, especially in our generation before social media, everything seemed a lot further away, unreachable. And characters like your Sugar Ray Leonard and your Mike Tyson, they would be in that same sort of genre as your rock stars, your movie stars, whatever. It would seem like a whole other universe, a million miles away. And then sort of someone who represented such a big part of that sort of hyper-real universe, and you stood in front of them and you're having a bit of a chat. And I'm lucky enough that that's happened on numerous occasions. And like I said, I exchanged a few words with him. He drew all our names out from the hat, and I was like, Sugar Ray Leonard knows my name, even just for now. That's good. And then I got to box in front of him, and I boxed two really good fights. And I'm not going to bitch about it. I thought I beat Matt Gordon in the semi-final, but he's a lovely dude and gentleman and a great fighter. And
he's a professional now, isn't he?
He's what, sorry?
Or he turned professional. Like in Birmingham, I think he'd had some professional fights. Yeah. So the last I'd heard of him. So
the standard was mega. I mean, the guy that won it was Brett McDermott, former BAMMA British heavyweight champion. I fought a few MMA shows with Brett, and not against him. I thought, I really actually wanted that fight because I think styles make fights, and I think that would have been a wicked fight.
Good to see,
but hey ho, it wasn't to be. But what did transpire was pretty damn good. I went out there, I did my bit, I hit the zone, I boxed really, really well that night, especially the first fight against Kev. That that was, again, I think that was more of a styles making fight, you know, just going toe to toe, and it was really exciting, you know. And me watching my back, I said, objectively, I can go, yeah, I'm enjoying this. If I was a fan, I'd have enjoyed that. So I did my job, you know what I mean, in front of one of my like, you know, childhood heroes. So there you go.
Were you aware of it at the time, or was it just the fight, and then afterwards you went, oh wow, I did that?
Oh, I see what you mean. Did it take some time to sink in?
Yeah.
The enormity of it. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I was aware of it at the time, but when I'm in a ring or a cage or whatever, it's a very strange mindset. The adrenaline is through the roof. The focus comes down. I'm in the moment. So there are peripheral thoughts and awarenesses going on, and I was definitely had the awareness that, like, I am boxing in front of Sugar Ray Leonard here. Let's show him who I am. You know what I mean?
Put your best across.
Yeah, it was a little bit, but also I had a crowd of about 50, 60 of my mates had come down and paid to see, and that's always a massive inspiration. So I've always got those sort of awarenesses in the back, but no, the enormity of it didn't quite sink in for a bit, and you're like, wow. But
you're focused on the job.
I've been lucky enough to have loads of moments like that, the same as yourself by the sound of it. But, those wow moments, but that's cool, and hopefully I can go and have just a few
more in the tank, is there? Yeah, wow.
I think maybe a couple more.
Ooh,